The following program is produced by Laura K. Henderson, Michael Ray Helms, and Jen Hebben, under the direction of executive producer Marty Grote and the board of All Ears Theater, with funding provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation and an anonymous donor. All Ears Theater. In the late 1930s, a cultural phenomenon swept across America, a novel written by a petite newspaper woman from Atlanta while recovering from a broken leg. Set in the Old South during the Civil War, Gone with the Wind spawned numerous imitations trying to cash in on its popularity. While a few of these imitations were good, many of them were not. This is the story of one of the many. Featured in tonight's cast are Jessica Brocade, Glynis Fenn, Rick Fontaine, Jen Hebben, Tim Hill, Hal Hobson-Morse, and Sarah Lynn Roddice.
It is now being called the worst storm to hit Omaha in the last 40 years. Snow accumulations of 36 inches in the city with drifts up to 6 feet in rural areas are making transportation impossible. Railroads, bus lines, and taxi services are all suspended, and Mayor LaTrivia urges citizens to remain in their homes. This is KQAX Radio, the pride of Omaha. In other news, Japanese forces continue their invasion of Manchuria with sources...
Great. Just great. Yes, Mrs. Buchanan.
Miss Webster, more bad news, I'm afraid. I just got a call from Roger Devereaux. He can't make it in due to the storm either.
Well, that's the final nail in the coffin. That's half our cast now, isn't it?
Yes, Miss Webster. All the men in your show can't make it in.
Would you come in here, Mrs. Buchanan?
Right away, dearie.
Yes, Miss Webster? Sit down, Mrs. Buchanan. Mrs. Buchanan, you've worked here at KQAX much longer than I have. This is the first show that I've written and produced on my own, and now it looks like it's finished before it even started. I'm desperate. Do you have any suggestions for what I could do to save it?
I'm so sorry, Betty, but I don't see what else you can do but cancel the show. You're missing half the people in a cast of 8, and all of them the men's roles.
I know, but couldn't we scrape up some men from around the studio to fill in? It's not the best solution, but at least it would be something.
I've already done some checking around, dearie, and there just isn't anyone else here. We're on a skeleton crew due to the blizzard.
Have you heard from Oscar? Is he here yet?
He's not here. I've called his home 3 times already without any answer. You know he lives out in the suburbs, so he's probably stuck in the storm too.
Well, no male actors and no director. I guess I don't have any choice but to pull the plug. Leo Stanger will fire me if he doesn't kill me first. You know, he wasn't too thrilled with the idea of hiring a woman writer and producer in the first place. And if he has to cancel the premiere broadcast of my show, especially after all the promotion we've done for the last month, that'll be the last straw. It'll be bye-bye Betty for sure.
Oh, it may not be as bad as all that, dearie. I know Mr. Stanger seems gruff, but he's always been fair, and he knows the storm's not your fault. Oh, that's my phone. Excuse me just a minute, dearie.
The storm may not be my fault, but I'll bet Stanger blames me for it anyway. Yes?
Miss Webster, Oscar DeMille is on the phone.
Oscar, are you there?
Betty, I've been trying to get a hold of you for the past half hour. What's going on there?
Oh, Oscar, everything's falling apart. We go on the air in less than an hour, and because of the blizzard, we've only got half the cast. When are you going to get here?
I'm not. I'm stuck at the railroad station. Nothing's moving. You're going to have to run the show yourself. You can do it, Betty, and Polly will help you.
But what about the cast? None of the men in the show were able to make it here, and there is no one else at the station to fill in.
Betty, I've got an idea. It's a long shot, but it just might work. Del White lives real close to the studio, and he could do all the men's voices you need.
Del White? The man of 100 voices. Do you really think he would do it?
I know he would. He and I go way back. As soon as I hang up with you, I'll call him and have him come right over. In the meantime, you're gonna have to go to Leo and tell him what's going on. He does not like surprises.
All right. I'll go see him after we're done here.
We're done. I'm going to hang up, then call Dell and get him over there toot sweet. Good luck.
Thanks, Oscar. I have a hunch I'm gonna need it. Yes, Mrs. Buchanan.
Miss Webster, Mr. Stanger wants to see you in his office immediately.
Well, good news travels fast. Thank you, Mrs. Buchanan.
Good luck, dearie.
Mr. Stanger,
Yes, Myrna.
Betty Webster to see you.
Send her in.
You can go in now, Miss Webster.
Thank you.
Have a seat, Miss Webster.
Yes, sir.
Miss Webster, I've just received a letter that I would like to read to you. Mr. Leo Stanger, manager KQAX Radio. Sir, we are the Omaha attorney of record representing Selznick International Pictures of Hollywood, California. Our firm has been apprised of your upcoming radio production entitled Amongst the Magnolias, set during the Civil War. With Selznick's current film project based on Margaret Mitchell's novel Gone with the Wind, it is our responsibility to prevent any instances of plagiarism of Miss Mitchell's book. Please be aware that we intend to monitor your broadcast, and if any basis for plagiarism is found, we will bring suit immediately. Sincerely, Hershel Dewey, senior partner, the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Well, indeed. Any thoughts?
Mr. Stanger, I can't deny that I had Gone with the Wind in the back of my mind when I came up with the idea for Amongst the Magnolias. But other than being set during the Civil War, I really don't think the two are all that similar.
You'd better hope that the lawyers agree with you, Miss Webster. This station cannot afford a lawsuit. I've got half a mind to pull the show altogether. And if we hadn't been pushing it so hard for the last month, I would.
That's something I need to speak with you about, Mr. Stanger. May I call you Leo?
No.
Oh, well, maybe you would like to call me Betty.
No. Miss Webster, it was not my idea to hire you, but what the station owner wants, the station owner gets. I really don't think you'll be here long enough to establish a more personal working relationship. Now, what have you done about replacing your missing cast members?
You know about that, huh?
I'm the manager of this radio station, Miss Webster. It is my business to know what's going on.
I just spoke with Oscar DeMille, and he is going to ask Del White to come in and take all the men's parts.
Del White? That's really not a bad idea. He's talented enough to do all those roles, and he does live nearby. Is he coming?
Oscar said he'd call him right away. He should be here any minute.
Okay, if he gets here in the next 5 minutes, the show can go on. Otherwise, I'll have to pull the plug. Do we understand each other?
Yes, sir. I should probably hunt down my stage manager, Polly, and explain everything to her.
Fine. Let me know when Del... What in the blue blazes was that? Myrna, what's going on?
Mr. Stanger, there's been a car crash right in front of the building.
Was anybody hurt?
They're bringing someone in now.
Oh, my Lord, it's Del. Here, bring him into my office. Put him on the couch.
This is Del White, my last hope.
Be quiet. Del, can you hear me? It's Leo Stanger. Del, what happened?
I had just pulled up to the station door, and all of a sudden this car slid out of nowhere and T-boned me. My head hurts.
Myrna, get some aspirin. But Del, how do you feel? You look pretty shaken up.
I think I'm all right, Leo. I'm just a little rattled, and my head really hurts.
Here's the aspirin and some water, Mr. Stanger. One of the girls who saw the accident said that Del hit his head pretty bad.
Oh, yeah? Well, Del, maybe we should be getting you to the hospital.
No, I'm here, and I'm going to do the show. I promised Oscar DeMille. Can I see a copy of the script?
Myrna, go get a copy of the script for Mrs. Buchanan. Miss Webster, I suggest that you get ready for your broadcast. I'll see that Del gets to the studio in time. By the way, make sure that the announcer doesn't change the cast list. That way the listeners won't know that one man is playing 4 parts.
Yes, sir, Mr. Stanger.
Here's the script, Mr. Stanger.
Thanks, Myrna. Here you go, Del. You can go over the script here in my office. I'll leave you alone, and then I'll come get you in time for the broadcast.
Jolly good idea, Ben. Toodle-pip for now.
Del, you do know this is a Civil War drama? You know, Southern accents and all?
Ah, no, Leo, don't y'all worry yourself into a fret.
Okay.
Will Dell be able to do the show, Mr. Stanger?
I'm not sure. Myrna, something's going on here that just ain't quite right.
And he'll play all the men's roles. So what do you think, Polly?
Wow, you really think this will work?
I don't know, but it's our only hope. I want you to get the rest of the cast together and bring them up to speed before the broadcast.
Okay, Betty, I'm on my way.
Miss Webster!
Mr. Stanger, where's Dell? Please don't tell me he had to go to the hospital after all.
Relax. Dell stopped in the washroom to splash some water on his face. He'll be here in a minute.
Thank goodness.
You may not be out of the woods yet, Miss Webster. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something odd about Dell. That bump on the head may have been more severe than he's letting on. He's been talking kind of funny.
Oh, swell.
I'm going to get Dell. You haven't much time until air.
What have I gotten myself into? Maybe I just should have canceled.
Here we are, Betty. I've told them all about Dell.
Okay, everyone, we haven't much time. As you know, Dell White is filling in for all the men's roles, but he's hurt his head, and it may have had some effect on his performance. I don't know what else to tell you, except that whatever happens, just roll with it, and try to follow Dell as best you can.
Here we are, Dell. Everything all right?
Quit fussing over me, Leo. As I told you before, I will be just fine.
Uh-huh. Well, good luck, Miss Webster. I'll be listening.
All right, everyone, let's get into the studio. We're on the air in less than a minute.
KQAX Radio, the pride of Omaha. Presents Amongst the Magnolias, the trenchant story of life and love in the Old South, starring Roger Devereaux as Colonel Culpepper and Anne Fairchild as his daughter Pansy, with Laura Fassbender, Anthony DiMaggio, Hazel Smites, Argyle Nelson, Jinx Carmichael, and Marcus Thompson. Brought to you by the National Toothpick Advisory Board. Our story tonight opens in the parlor of Bellicose Hall, deep in the heart of Dixie.
There you are, Lavinia, my love. Have you all seen our daughter Pansy?
I believe I saw her going out to the stables, Beauregard, dear. Oh, it's been so wonderful having you all here, even if for just a little while. I don't know what I'm going to do when you have to go back to the war.
There, Lavinia. We must all make sacrifices for our glorious cause. Besides, your old friend Serena Delacroix and her daughter should be arriving soon to help distract you.
Yes, I am looking forward to seeing Serena again.
Of course you are, honeysuckle. Well, I'm gonna go for a ride. I'll be back before luncheon.
Enjoy your ride, dear. Oh, my stars, I do believe I've dropped a stitch. Why, yes, what is it, Uncle Jupiter?
Me's a cold pepper. Me's a Delacroix and a young miss are used to coming up the drive.
Huh? What? Fine, Uncle Jupiter. Show them right in, and then you may serve the tea.
Yes'm.
Dear me, I hope Pansy hasn't gone riding. If she has, she'll never return in time for tea.
Lavinia.
Serena Delacroix. As I live and breathe, you all haven't aged a bit. You haven't. And this can't be Hyacinth. It's been only 2 years, but I swear I never saw such a beautiful young lady. Please, y'all sit down. How was your trip?
Well, Lavinia, once we were on the train, it was just fine. But when we were on the road, oh my, what with all the troops and their wagons and such, well, it just took forever.
I do hope you all can stay for a good long visit.
Of course, sugar. Since Robert left the army, Hyacinth and I have just been rattling around in that big old house. And it gets harder and harder to get in New Orleans.
I can just imagine. Now, Hyacinth, I do hope you all brought a dress you can wear to the cotillion next week.
Oh, yes, Miss Culpepper. Mama and I did some shopping at Miss Carlisle before we left New Orleans.
Mama, where are you? Have I missed tea?
In the parlor, Pansy, dear.
Mama, why, Miss Delacroix, Hyacinth. Oh, I didn't know you all had arrived. Oh, it's so good to see you. And And Hyacinth, isn't that just a beautiful dress? Oh, you must see the dress I'm going to wear to the cotillion next week. Come on up to my bedroom with me. Mama, we'll have our tea later.
My land, Lavinia, that daughter of yours is a regular whirlwind. I'm going to have to catch my breath.
Oh, yes, she's a handful, all right. A raft of suitors, and she flits from one to another like a butterfly.
It looked like rain, so Why, Serena Delacroix, if you're not a sight for sore eyes, how did you sneak in when my back was turned?
Why, Beauregard Culpepper, you silver-tongued scoundrel. It's so good to see you again.
And where is that lovely daughter of yours?
Pansy came in and whisked Hyacinth upstairs to her room.
Now there's a sobering thought. Those two upstairs together, plotting heaven knows what.
Now, Pansy, where's your dress?
Never mind the dress, Hyacinth. I've got a secret I'm just dying to tell you. Would you believe that I have a man hidden in the old tobacco shed?
What?
Well, I was out riding 2 days ago, and I found this soldier wandering aimlessly in the fields. His head was all bloody, and he could barely speak.
Oh, my!
I brought him back to the plantation, and Uncle Jupiter and I tended to his wounds and have been bringing him food. And Hyacinth, he has no memory. He doesn't know his name or who he is or where he's from or anything.
Dear me! But, Pansy, why don't you just tell your papa and let him take care of things?
Because, Hyacinth, I think I've started to grow just a little fond of him. And when I found him, he was wearing a blue uniform. Hyacinth, he's a Yankee.
And now a word from the National Toothpick Advisory Board.
Well, honey, everything looks ready for the party.
Yes, dear. It was a lot of work, but all the food looks perfect. How's my hair?
Looks just fine to me.
Harriet, Bill, I'm so glad you could come.
Why, Mavis, I wouldn't miss one of your parties on a bet.
Help yourself to some appetizers.
Oh, my, they all look so tempting. Oh, dear, the toothpick just broke.
Please, try another one. Oh, no, all the toothpicks are breaking. Our party is ruined. Why didn't I get National Toothpick Advisory Board approved toothpicks?
Why, indeed! Avoid the possibility of crippling social ostracism. Always look for the National Toothpick Advisory Board seal of approval before you buy your toothpicks. The National Toothpick Advisory Board. You get the point? And now, we return to Amongst the Magnolias, where we find Pansy and Hyacinth walking down the path to the old tobacco shed.
Pansy, are you sure you want me to meet this Yankee?
Yes, Hyacinth. If you're going to help me and Uncle Jupiter bring him food and water and whatnot, I want him to meet you so he doesn't become frightened by a stranger.
Well, here's the old tobacco shed.
Help me with the door.
It's dark in here. I don't see anybody.
He's on the other side of that first bale. Be quiet now. He may be asleep.
Pansy, you didn't tell me he was so handsome. I can't see now why you may have grown fond of him, even if he is a Yankee.
Hello, is someone there?
It's me, Pansy. It's me, Pansy.
Oh, Miss Pansy, but there is someone there with you.
Oh, yes. This is my dear friend Hyacinth Delacroix. She's agreed to help me take care of you. Oh, please don't worry, for you can trust her as you trust me.
Thank you, Miss Hyacinth. That's most very kind of you.
Pansy, I'm a bit worried about that cough. It could be doing him any good lying in this cold, drafty old tobacco shed.
I know, but if we put him in any of the other barns, he'll be found for sure. Now, why didn't I think of this before? You and your mama are staying in the blue guest room, but the green guest room is just sitting there empty. We'll put him in there. Then we can sneak his meals up the back stairs.
Pansy, that's a wonderful idea. When shall we move him?
No time like the present. You go ahead and make sure the way is clear.
All right, I'm on my way.
Now, John, let me help you up. Do you mind if I call you John, since you don't remember your real name?
Miss Pansy, whatever you choose to do is fine with me. But why are you helping me at all? You're running a horrible risk to yourself.
Oh, lean on me, John. And we'll walk slowly. I must confess that while I don't really know you at all, I have still developed a degree of fondness for you. Well, it's certainly not proper, but I cannot deny it.
In times of war, proprieties cannot always be observed. I too have felt my emotions stirred whenever you are near.
Now, hush yourself. We're getting near the house. Whatever you do, try not to cough. Do you hear the piano?
Wunderbar, Serena, wunderbar. It's so good to hear the piano again. Pansy doesn't seem to enjoy playing anymore.
Why, it's my pleasure, Beauregard. Lavinia, it's your turn to select. What would you like me to play?
Well, Serena, dear, I was hoping... Oh, no. Yes, Uncle Jupiter?
Excuse me for interrupting, ma'am, but there is Lieutenant Dupree to see the Colonel.
Lieutenant Dupree? That's my adjutant. Show him in, Uncle Jupiter.
Yes, sir. Colonel Culpepper.
Lieutenant, you know Frau Culpepper? And may I present our host guest, Serena Delacroix. Serena, this is my adjutant, Lieutenant Rance Dupree.
How do you do, Lieutenant Dupree? Are you of the Atlanta Duprees?
Yes, ma'am. And are you of the Louisiana Delacroix?
Indeed, sir.
Nice.
Lieutenant Dupree, what brings you to Bellicose Hall?
Orders from General Lee, sir.
The General is calling me back to headquarters immediately. I'm sorry, Lavinia, honey, but I'm going to have to leave first thing tomorrow morning.
Couldn't you leave sooner? Oh, dear, what a shame. Oh, well, we must be strong in these trying times. At least I'll still have Serena for company after you're gone. Lieutenant, you can stay tonight in the green guest room.
Thank you, ma'am. Before I go up to my room, I was hoping you might show me your famous rose garden.
In the dark, sir?
There's a beautiful full moon tonight, ma'am.
Oh, well then, right this way, Lieutenant. Now, comrade, I know full well you don't give a fig about my roses. What is all this foolishness?
Miss Culpepper, I've been a guest in your home a number of times now, and I've grown increasingly fond of your daughter, Miss Pansy. I would like to pay court to her, but as Colonel Culpepper is my superior officer, I thought it might be best if you could smooth the way for me.
Rance, I'd like nothing better than to have you as a son-in-law. I'll speak to the Colonel tonight before we retire. Shall we rejoin the others?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Papa. Rance?
Hello, Miss Pansy.
Pansy, where have you been?
I was showing Hyacinth the horses, Papa. Rance, what are you doing here?
Official business, Miss Pansy.
Oh, where are my manners? Lieutenant Dupree, may I present my dear friend, Miss Hyacinth Delacroix?
Miss Hyacinth?
Lieutenant.
Well, as much as I would enjoy having a long talk with you, Miss Pansy, I'd best retire. 4:30 in the morning comes awfully early. Good night, all.
Good night.
Well.
Rance is staying the night. Where will he be sleeping?
In the green guest room.
The green? Oh, no. Rance! Thank goodness. You can't stay in the green guest room.
Miss Pansy, why not?
Well, we haven't quite had a chance to freshen the bed linens.
Why, Miss Pansy, I've been sleeping on the ground for the past year and a half. The bed will be just fine.
But it's so dusty in there.
Miss Pansy, I hope to have a serious talk with you very soon. But now, if I'm going to be riding all day tomorrow, I have got to get some sleep. Good night, Miss Pansy.
No!
What's this? A man? A Yankee?
Miss Pansy, what's going on?
How dare you utter her name? Take this, you darn Yankee.
Rance, no! Ooh! Rance, you've killed him!
We will return to Amongst the Magnolias after this word from the National Toothpick Advisory Board. Newsflash! Incidents of mouth splinters are on the rise. For more on this story, we spoke with noted oral surgeon Dr. Augustus Littlefield.
Mouth splinters, which occur when spicules of wood embed themselves in the lip and the gum tissues, can result in painful infections. Extensive research has determined that the best way of preventing this embarrassing condition is to avoid the use of shoddy, inferior quality toothpicks.
Yes, you said a mouthful, Doc. Protect your family and friends. Only use toothpicks with the National Toothpick Advisory Board stamp of approval. The National Toothpick Advisory Board. You get the point? And now, the dramatic conclusion of Amongst the Magnolias.
You killed him, Rance! You killed him!
What's going on up here? Where'd this Yankee come from? Pansy?
So now we're in Flatbush? Oh, Papa, he's dead!
Beauregard, Rance, lift him up and put him on the bed.
Now then, little missy, you tell me, what's been going on around here?
Well, Papa, 2 days ago I was out riding on the north edge of the backfield, and I saw something moving on the edge of the woods. Well, as I rode closer, I saw it was a man, and he had blood all around his head. I brought my horse over to him, and so we brought him up here. Well, I never dreamed that Rance would be staying the night, and now he's dead.
Oh, hush yourself, Pansy. He's just been knocked unconscious. He should be coming around soon.
Lieutenant, we can drop this prisoner off of Atlanta on our way back to headquarters.
No, Papa, you can't.
Why, where am I?
John, you're all right.
Miss Pansy, I know my name. I'm a Capitan Alonzo Marmillion.
Of the Savannah Marmillions?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from a Savannah.
My word, Lavinia, the Savannah Marmillions.
Well, son, if you're really a Southern boy, why are you lying there wearing a Yankee uniform?
Well, sir, I was with the 2nd Georgia Brigade. We'd have been pinned down by Yankee fire in the woods for 3 days, and I volunteered to infiltrate behind the enemy lines to gather intelligence. I was given a Yankee uniform from one of our prisoners and set off on my mission. I remember making my way through the forest at night. I must have fallen into the dark and hit my head, because the next thing I knew, I was flat on my back, and an angel was bending over me.
Oh, Alonzo, paisan.
Well, Captain, you can join Lieutenant Dupree and myself tomorrow, and we could drop you off at the medical depot in Atlanta. Once you recover, you can rejoin your brigade.
Thank you, Colonel. I hope you don't find this presumptuous, but with your permission, I would like to visit Bellicose Hall on my next furlough.
My boy, we would be honored. As long as we have a roof over our heads, you will be welcome here. Yes, here, amongst the Magnolias.
You have been listening to Amongst the Magnolias on KQAX Radio, the Pride of Omaha. Brought to you by the National Toothpick Advisory Board. Written and produced by Betty Webster and directed by Oscar DeMille. Sound effects by Walter Foley. And this is your announcer, Chip Esterhazy, inviting you to join us next week for another story Amongst the Magnolias.
Goodbye, office. So long, desk. Farewell, intercom. Adios, chair. Auf Wiedersehen, tape dispenser. I think I'll miss you most of all.
Miss Webster, are you in there?
Come on in, Mrs. Buchanan.
There you are, dearie. Where have you been? The show was over 20 minutes ago.
I stuck around to make sure Del White got into the ambulance. Did you listen to the show? Was it as bad as it seemed?
There's no way to sugarcoat it, dearie. It was worse.
Oh.
And Mr. Stanger wants to see you in his office right away.
I see. Well, it was nice knowing you, Mrs. Buchanan.
Good luck, dearie.
Yes.
Mr. Stanger, it's Betty Webster.
Come in, Miss Webster. Close the door, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Stanger. I didn't realize you weren't alone.
Miss Webster, may I introduce Mr. Hershel Dewey from the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Good evening, Miss Webster. I wanted to wait until you were present before I said what I want to say to Mr. Stanger.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stanger, Miss Webster, I was in tonight's audience for your broadcast of Amongst the Magnolias, and as the local representative for the interests of Selznick International Pictures, I can categorically state that your radio play does not bear any reasonable similarity to the work of Miss Margaret Mitchell. In fact, I couldn't see any similarities between your show and anything else I've ever heard before in my entire life.
I see. Mr. Dewey, could your office send the station a letter to that effect?
What? Why, yes, I suppose I could send you something in tomorrow's mail.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
You're welcome. And now, I will bid you both a good night.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Thank you. Well, Miss Webster, where do we go from here?
I assume that I'm going on the dole.
Now, don't jump to conclusions, Miss Webster. I realize the deck was stacked against you from the beginning. The show has never had a chance tonight, but it wasn't really any of your fault. We'll air another episode next week when things should go a little more smoothly.
But what about Selznick? Truth be told, there is a lot of Gone with the Wind in Amongst the Magnolias.
By the time next week's show airs, we'll have Dewey's letter in hand, stating in black and white that we are in the clear. He wouldn't dare touch us.
That's brilliant. You've taken care of everything, Mr. Stanger.
Now, I think we should both go home and forget tonight ever happened. Betty?
Betty? Why, Mr. Stanger? May I call you Leo?
No. No, I'm not quite there yet. However, when you do come in tomorrow, I would be interested in hearing any ideas you might have for new shows.
Oh, I'd be happy to, Mr. Stanger. In fact, I have a great idea for a fantasy show. It's about a little girl from the Midwest who gets transported to a magical land. It's all about the characters she meets and the adventures she has trying to get home.
Betty, I like it.
You've been listening to Amongst the Magnolias, written and directed by Tim Eschelbach, with sound engineering by Lester Batts of Sound Solutions and Nick Mored of Kalamazoo Recording. The music was composed by Hal Hobson-Morse and performed by Lori Hatfield and Wendy Wheeler. Sound effects were performed by Lisa Brennan and Gary Brown. This nonprofit performance was performed at the Kalamazoo Nonprofit Advocacy Coalition and is copyrighted by All Ears Theater, with all other rights reserved by the author. Any resemblance to persons living or dead, or characters' names, places, or incidents is purely coincidental. This is your announcer, Glynis Fenn, thanking you for listening and inviting you to visit us again for another All Ears Theater presentation.